Very good morning to you. Today, I will discuss about the uh, crop weather relationship. You know that when the crop are cultivated in the open field, then it experiences a number of weather during the different life cycle of the crop, particularly from the sowing to the harvesting stage. So today I discussed that how the different weather parameters they are influencing the crop growth, and sometimes what would be the beneficial weather, and what would be the not very conducive to the plant growth. Now, but ultimately the intention of this thing that if we know this kind of relationship, then it is possible to advise the farmers as far as possible what needs to be done to avoid this unfavorable weather condition. So and different crops, different zones, they have their own characteristics. So this is the different phase of wheat, and when it is growing from the sowing to the harvesting, then it experiences the benevolent and malevolent weather at each stage, and each stage that it is different about the sensitivity with the weather parameters, and sometimes the weather parameters may be one parameter is influencing, and sometimes more than one is influencing. So I'll discuss with some of the selective crops, and also in general that how the solar radiation, how the air temperature, how the soil temperature, and it is affecting, maybe it may be in the flowering stage, or maybe in the active vegetative stage, like that. So before going to the individual parameter sensitivity to the selective crops, you show here that during the winter time when the boro paddy is grown, then and that time from the north cold wave is used to come because of the western disturbances. And if the cold wave is touch the seedlings, on the or in the seed bed, then all the boro paddy will be affected. So to protect that cold wave on the boro paddy and the seed bed and the seedlings, so we advise the farmers to put the plastic so that cold wave should not touch the seedbed and the seedling. So that means this boro paddy is very very sensitive at the initial stage to the cold wave. Similarly, when there is a high wind, particularly during cyclone or heavy wind, due to thunderstorm activity, that time, this banana plant or so many other plant, they lodged. So we know that at what kind of speed the lodging is possible. Then we are telling in advance to the farmer to put the bamboo stick and something that's to so that they should not lodge. So and another thing is the hailstorm. When hailstorm is coming, this is making a huge negative impact on the crop, whether it may be a horticulture crops or it may be the cereals. So now these days with the now casting, we know that what hailstorm is there and when it will be coming. But when the hailstorm is touching the fruit plants, or maybe the cereals, then there will be some after effect is there. So that we are putting the different kinds of advisories to them, so that they can save the crop. In the right hand side, I have given said before hailstorm, what could be the advisories and what is the after hailstorm. That means we know the sensitivity of the hailstorm with the plant. Now, I'll just come to a individual parameters, how in general and also for selective crops they are affecting. So, among all the parameters, you know that solar radiation is the most important parameters, which is helping the photosynthesis to be done in a very smoothly. So, if the number of days is cloudy and it is not getting the proper solar radiation, then the abnormalities that we are seeing. And also, solar radiation govern the distribution of photosynthesis among different organs of the plant, and also it affects the tillers, and the yield. It is sometimes you see in the wheat crop also. And there are some critical stage where solar radiation is very very important. If it is below that, then there will be detrimental effect. Now, then as per individuals, I was mentioning that different phenotypes are very very sensitive to the solar radiation. That like flowering, germination, it depends on the quality of the radiation. And because of this, there are different chemical components within the plant, so they observe selectively maybe the visible range, or infrared range, different wavelength they are taking. If there is any discrepancies will be there, then the plants will be affected. And red light is most inhibitor of flowering in case of long day plant. But red light also help to mature fruit crops like apple or like that. And one of the phenolphase germination is very very sensitive to the light, particularly the kind of radiation. If you see that the germination is inhibited when the green, that is exposed to green, blue, and other short wavelength colors, and then infrared part of the spectrum. And ultraviolet rays influence the germination and quality of seeds, lead to many irregularities. So individual penophase is very very sensitive to different radiation at different wavelength. That number of research has been done. Now we know that this is so. We are selecting the crops and also adjusting the different phenophase depending on the nature of the solar radiation in a particular place we are recording. Then you see the radiation intensity, peak radiation intensity during third month of May. That is why what is uh, overlapping with the tasseling and silking and early grain formation of maize. That time the peak radiation intensity is very very important and helpful. Even also the panicle and booting stage, it will be 25 days before flowering in case of rice is very very important. And solar radiation during flowering period in case of barley is very very important. So you just understand that how the solar radiation is impacting the different stage, and all will be ultimately impacting the reflecting in the final yield of the crops. Now, uh, the dry matter of plant is produced through photosynthesis, all of you know. And there are several environmental factors, like solar radiation, environmental temperature, concentration of carbon dioxide, and also the moisture status, soil moisture status, and the turbulence, during in the microclimate, all are very very important to get the photosynthesis in a very optimum level. Now, if you see the curve here, we just showed that how the temperature in different crops, is regulating the rate of photosynthesis. So initially at low temperature, photosynthesis is not optimum. Then when you increase the temperature, photosynthesis. But again, at a certain point, this will be very flat or may decrease also. At high temperature, when engine become inactivated, so various reaction disturb and decrease. That is, you have seen that at the very high temperature, after it decreases now. Okay, with increasing soil moisture, the optimum photosynthesis rate is reduced at lower light intensity. So when the light intensity is low and there is a soil moisture stress, therefore photosynthesis also decrease. And at low moisture stress, coupled with little atmospheric demand, the rate of photo continues to increase with increased light intensity, so which I just now mentioned. And this you have seen very interesting curve. Here we have shown that the incident light radiation in the x-axis and the rate of photosynthesis on the y-axis, and also we have showed that efficiency of the radiation. How they are impacting the photosynthetic rate. So you see that at extremely low intensity, that is, the efficiency may reach to 17%. When the extremely low radiation efficiency is going to 17, but it drops to 8% when intensity is 100 Langley per day. Again, it dropped to 3% when 300 Langley is there. That is, the decrease of efficiency of radiation utilization with increasing light intensity is caused by the finite resistance. The cause is that the finite resistance, the diffusion of carbon dioxide will lead to the chloroplast. So when this is happening, that within the plant, tissues, they are acting a very active role. Now, soil temperature also is very important. Soil temperature important factor in plant growth and distribution. In comparison to air temperature, the amplitude means the variation of the temperature at lower depth, is more, because there are so many constituents are there, and their behave, their adaptations to the soil moisture, soil temperature will be different. And when the soil temperature, particularly extreme, influences germination of seeds. Okay, so that's why we know that at what soil temperature a particular crop will germinate, and so we are doing. We first measure the soil temperature and fix the timing, and then we, and this also active soil temperature also regulate the root system and also the incidence of pests and diseases on the plant growth. Now, you see that soil temperature versus air temperature. What I said, that uh, uh, the air temperature has more influence, more important than the soil temperature. High temperature of soil causes degradation of the tuber of the crops. So when we cultivate the potato, then we should know that uh, what could be the temperature of the soil at a particular period, so that it should affect the tubers. And optimum soil temperature for this crop is 17 degree. Okay, so we see that if it is around 17 degree around, then only it corresponds to tuber formation. And tuber formation is practically absent above a soil temperature 29 degree. So there we are not cultivating the potato crop. But corn increases almost linearly as 10 centimeter soil moisture rises from 15 to 27 degrees centigrade. Beyond this temperature, the corneal decreases. Now, this is very important. This we are every crop is having a different characteristics. So we call this cardinal temperature. Mean three temperature. One is the minimum temperature. Temperature. This is air temperature. I'm talking where no growth is there, and optimum temperature where maximum plant growth occurs, and maximum temperature above which the plant growth stops. So the one is minimum, one is optimum, and maximum. It varies for crop to crop, but we call this cardinal temperature. If we know these things, then we can schedule our selection of the crop. Now, air temperature and plant growth. Air temperature is the most important climatic variables which affect, and the growth of air plants is restricted to 0 to 60 degrees centigrade, and crop plants are further restricted to narrower range 10 to 40 degrees. So if it is higher plant, it is 0 to 60, and if it is not higher, it is 10 to 40 degree. However, each species have a variety of its own upper and lower temperature. What I said that they are having a different kinds of cardinal temperature. A classical example of air temperature on a tomato yield. If you see that we have showed that how the respiration, photosynthesis at different air temperature is regulated. You can see that how the variations are being made. So this is a very interesting, kind of thing. That how the solar temperature is very very important for this. Here we have shown tomato, but this is for for any crop. If you see this kind of thing. Uh, so this card is also available for other crops also. Now, growing degradation is another parameter which is all calculated from the maximum and minimum temperature, and also with respect to base temperature. So this is one of the indicator by which we can understand how one plant accumulate the accumulate the heat into that, and then similarly, just like flowering stage and or grain formation, they have a range of growing degrees accumulation, okay, of heat. There is heat, you call heat unit. So based on this thing, if it is below the threshold in the flowering stage, then flowering will be affected, or maybe anthesis will be affected, or grain formation. This is one of the very important parameters by which we can understand that how the different stage of the crop are influenced, and what would be the ultimate yield of the crop. So moisture factor in the plant growth, this is one of the very very important parameter. The importance of water, paramount importance actually. So it is used in the photosynthesis of part of the constituent of the protoplasm, and is a universal solvent that all of you know. And because of the moisture, the movement of the solutes to the plant from the soil to the uh, to the body of the plant. And so it is very highly important. And soil moisture, almost all the moisture consumed come from the soil. So if the soil is below wilting point, so that means then the plant will be affected. If it is field capacity, so crop will be growing very nicely. But If it is above field capacity, so that plant cannot take, that comes a runoff. Another, humidity is very important, particularly the pest and disease problem with the humidity. Even also humidity is important for the it also affect the quality of the solar radiation and evapotranspiration. When humidity is much, then no evapotranspiration will be there, and that will affect also. So even also it increases the growth of shoot of leaves at the expense of root. So humidity has also a very important parameters. Now I'll show you the individual crop, how the different parameters are affecting, and what could be the threshold level values. I'll come very quickly that if you see the boxes on the right hand side, I mentioned that average temperature 20 to 36 degree, uh, and and tolerable temperature is 19 to 40. So this has been done by doing number of experimental studies, and also we have seen that accumulated sunshine hours, uh, it will be 220 to 240 hours in the last 30 days. So, and we have done number of experiment, and we have nearby observatories where we can do. So more light intensity give more tillers, panicle, and well developed. High RH within the crop canopy is usually conducive. Now, if you see the wheat is something different here. Here, the higher temperature above about 30 to 35 have a general detrimental effect to the crop performance. That is why we are growing the wheat, particularly during the winter season. And optimum range, particularly the vegetative stage, is 15 to 20 degree. And optimum rainfall 50 to 87 can grow in Rabi season, that is subhumid to semi-arid condition. Now, if you see the maize, so maize grows well in areas where mean temperature is 24 and night temperature is 15 degree. It is essentially warm and humid. So similarly, this is I showed in the boxes, very sensitive to excess water. So that's why when we have to see that there should not be any water logging. But maize is very resistant to drought. Okay, so maize is a crop that is, it is having a wide adaptability. Then jowar and sorghum, so it is almost in the Thailand crop with erratic rainfall, doesn't require much of rainfall, and they are having a different range of minimum and maximum temperature, and also total water requirement is 40 to 65 centimeter. I'll share the presentation with you. You can see each and every this thing, how a crop is being affected, or what is the beneficial, favorable, and what is unfavorable. So whenever you be associated with any of the cultivation practices, you can see that with the meteorological data, if all this data is within the range of the crop, then you can advise a particular crop to grow in it. This is jowar, this is cotton. Here, average annual temperature is 16 degree, greater than 16 degree, and tolerable limit is 16 to 39. So excessive rainfall in latter stage is harmful. That is why it is that the last stage of the cotton is coinciding after the monsoon period actually. And now you see jute, uh, uh, and cannot withstand waterlogging. This is one of the very important thing that you cannot put water into the jute, and humid and warm and hot weather. That's why it is growing during hot period, but coinciding harvesting is coinciding with the July where the heating can be done with the monsoon water. Then sugarcane is that is a long period crop, and sugarcane also moist humid climate and optimum temperature 27 to 38 degree. This is gram. So this is arahar pigeon, soybean, then groundnut. This is mustard. This sunflower, safflower, sesame, potato, onion, tomato, tea. So what I mentioned, I have explained some of the crops, but you can see that all the major crops grown in South Asia, I have put it here, and what is the crop with the relations among them, and you can just see that. Where it can be grown in your country. Whenever the opportunity will become to you, you can select that depending on the meteorological data and the soil moisture, soil temperature, how this can be done. Even also, if at all these are cultivated, then you should see that at a particular stage of the crop how it is impacting, and if you have the advisories for what need to be done, particularly drought, flood, different stress condition, then you can take some of the measures so that crop can grow. So whatever the I have mentioned there, that has been put into the crop calendar, which is very handy tool uh, to for the weather-based farm management, where the different stages has been mentioned. What is the normal weather? What would be the water requirement of the crop? And then what is the anomalous weather is there? And what we have seen that this calendar is very useful for crop planning, irrigation scheduling, because every stage we are getting the water requirement of the crop, that is also determined, and is very effective for crop planning and maximizing the stabilizing the food production. So whatever I mentioned in the previous slide, so all the information is clubbed together, and we put this kind of calendar for whatever the major crops grown in a particular country, and that will be helping in this, and sometimes it is on the regional languages also. In conclusion, what I want to mean that there are so many crops, uh, there are number of meteorological factors and in the crops the different stages of the crop, so they have the different kind of influence on the different stage of the crop. That knowledge is very important. uh, if you have this full knowledge, then it is easy for the selection of the crop, even also if the crop is growing, and what needs to be done to offset the unfavorable weather. If it is favorable weather, so you can that also help you to foretell that ill forecast. If throughout the season the weather is very favorable, so you can say that maximum yield is possible. But if the humidity is very long period or high humidity is there, and clouding is there, so radiation is not coming on the field, so you can expect that yield may not be as you are expecting, so you can do some other initiative how to save the crop, or if the low yield is there, what could be the your future planning or like that. So that's why crop weather relationship study is very important. If once you know the individual crop is sensitivities, a number of problems in the agriculture front will be resolved. So with this, I am stopping it here. Thank you very much for your patience hearing.